before we dive into all the stats, you want to tell everyone about your background, how long you've been selling real estate?
Sure, I've been doing this 26 years.
Okay.
First got into the business as a reload director, and originally I was actually going to start as a realtor, but my dad, who used to own the company,
Yeah.
the reload director left or quit or something, and so there was that opportunity, and I came from a business calling background where I sold season passes to different big corporations and stuff.
Okay.
And so that just kind of really fit that relocation director position. And then I just kind of stayed on the management side for about 10 years.
Okay.
And then decided, hey, it's 2008, great time to get into just selling.
Well, you started
started
the market
selling.
perfectly.
Yeah, it was a good
Speaking of
time.
market. Now, Eddie, you're known here locally, a really big office, 2 offices here, over 100 agents, a lot of agents, 20, 30 years in the business. We have a lot of ninjas here in the audience, so a lot of really experienced agents. But here locally, you're known for putting together a stat pack on unique and interesting stats.
Sure.
So you're the stat guy, which I love. But when you and I talked the other day, we talked about, as we think of headlines in the newspaper and things that consumers are seeing, what do you do to go beyond those newspaper headlines?
Sure, I think the most important piece is trying to give our clients some subjectivity, because when they see that rates are the highest they've been in, or actually when we're hearing things like, oh, the rates are 7%. I hear agents all the time say, oh, bad rate is 8% or higher. Well, for anybody who's bought a home in the last 10 years or 15 years, anything over 4% is not a good rate.
Right.
So
Sticker shock.
Yeah. And so when you look at where rates were a year ago versus where they're at today, they need to get some of that experience, history, and subjectivity to understand that coming from someone who's been around for 25 or 26 years, maybe it's not that bad. But for somebody who's only been trying to buy their first house, seeing their payment go up double or triple, it's not good news.
Let's dig into that a little bit. So I know you mentioned to me your talk track is a little bit different, especially with people who haven't bought before or only know this much lower rate. And I feel like it's a little bit different than what I've heard nationally. How do you show the empathy there when you talk about the rates?
Sure. So I think a lot of it is just being empathetic and trying to remember that you have to have your client's best interest at heart.
Okay.
And so I'm not in this to try and get the quick sale. Oftentimes it can be, we just closed a client last month who I'd been working with for over 3 years, and they were trying to buy a house back when rates were great, but people were buying houses for $100,000 more than they were probably worth.
Okay.
Maybe not. But they kept losing out. Well, now all of a sudden what changed for them was now they didn't have all that competition. Now they had a little bit more variety, and now they could buy a house they really, really, really liked.
Yep.
And even though it was going to cost them a little bit more per month.
Okay. And so are you less likely to say, hey, rates are at 7, but 20 years ago they were at 18, and more like focus in, I know it's changed, but here's the upside of the situation?
Yeah, and absolutely. And especially, at least in our market, Colorado Springs, we're just about an hour south of Denver. This whole corridor we call the Front Range, there's just so many people moving here that demand is still strong. Our market is not going to collapse anytime soon, probably not in my lifetime. There's just too many people moving here.
Yeah.
So people may be putting off buying for a while because of rates, but we'll be okay.
Okay. Now I know this is super local, but I assume this happens in other locations, so I wanted to bring it up because I think this is a great pro tip. So for you, when you're doing your data analysis, I remember you telling me you separate out some of the data because of people from multiple MLSs also publishing to your MLS. Can you tell that story briefly, especially for folks that maybe have multiple MLSs and might be running into the same situation with the data?
Sure, yeah. So noticed around COVID time, all of a sudden we had tons of agents from out of our local MLS joining our MLS and pouring their listings in. And they weren't just pouring listings in from our market, but they were pouring listings in from the Denver market, south of us an hour, Pueblo market. We had agents in Vail and Aspen doing the same thing. And so all of a sudden we saw all these listings, but all of us that were on the street were like, there's not any inventory. Why is our MLS reporting such high numbers? Well, so what I started to do is I pulled out just our county, our local market area, and literally 30% of the listings disappeared. And so then what I did at that point was COVID, so we all had a little bit of time on our hands.
Just a little bit.
I went back, those 22 years I've been doing the stat pack, and updated to the same time for active listings and sales for just El Paso County, our metro area, so we can really have an apples to apples comparison.
Okay. Now, I know you like to dust it up and really get into really the thick of data. So there's a local economist that you talk to a lot.
Yeah.
How do those conversations go? Because I think that's so brave to engage with economists and say, hey, here's my take, what are you seeing? But you've been doing this so long. Tell us a little bit about that, how that evolved.
Yeah, so she's a client of ours, and very, very, very smart, way smarter than me, and much better mathematician than me. And but usually every year when she's getting ready to put together her annual review for our market, she'll ask a lot of people their opinions that are kind of in our business. And so last year she was predicting, at the end of last year going into this year, she was predicting a decent amount of depreciation in our market. And so I reached out to her and I said, I don't think that's the case. And then I told her why, and so we went back and forth for a while, and then she ended up changing her forecast actually from being somewhere between 5 to 7% depreciation to somewhere closer to 0 to 2% depreciation this year in our market.
Right. You're in the street seeing and
Right.
feeling the
And
market
it was
every day.
just based on mostly our gut, right? Exactly.
Yeah, that's powerful. Now, you had me thinking too, when we talked the other day, that you have a way of explaining the pace of sales. I think it's really unique because you have all these homes coming on, but then they're going off really fast. It kind of skews the data or the formulas a little bit. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
If it's what I recall, so one of the things I also started tracking after COVID was new listings hitting our market.
Yeah,
So, because our active inventory every month was showing that we had fewer houses on the market than homes were selling, and that doesn't make any sense to anybody. And then all of a sudden, I realized, oh, I could actually track the new listings every month.
right. You said something like there was 800 active homes on the market, but 1,200 homes were selling, right?
Yeah,
And it just
exactly.
doesn't make sense,
Yeah,
right?
it makes no sense. So that's, again, when kind of an aha point came along, and so I started tracking all the new listings coming on, and then you could really see that inventory rate, which at that point, at the height of it, was like 2 days. And now, that rate in our market's about 1.8 months.
Right. So basically to differentiate a little bit between the month supply of inventory versus just purely the new listings and really painting that picture for your clients?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Tell us a story about some of your clients. I think there was a story about some clients that have been looking for years as a family of siblings, and how everything unfolded for them, and how to tell stories like that to help put the market in perspective.
Sure. So it's kind of the client I was just alluding to a little bit ago, but really cool family. I got to know them through one of my sons, because he went to high school with my son, and they're an immigrant family from Thailand.
Okay.
And the oldest brother moved here 11 years ago, and he just started working and saving. He had 2 jobs. He's always had 2 jobs, always works 80 hours a week or more,
Yeah.
with his 2 cooking jobs. And then his sister, and then the younger brother who I knew, and then they had another younger sister. They've all just been working hard for 11 years,
Yeah.
saving money like crazy.
Amazing.
And they couldn't get the house back in the old market because people were just paying too
Outbidding them.
much, outbidding them. But
Yeah.
now when they had this opportunity to actually find a house they really loved,
Yeah.
and make a reasonable offer, they got that house. And I think, to me, the coolest part of it was what the oldest sibling said. He's like, it's just about hard work. Because I asked him, I said, why did you guys move here from Thailand? And he said, because this is the land of opportunity.
Mhm.
He's like, if I work hard and I'm honest, I can do this. I just bought a house in
Yeah.
11 years.
American dream, right?
The American dream.
And I felt like you said before, when they were looking at houses in the really hot market, they saw houses they liked,
Yeah,
but now they found, what did they find?
a house they loved.
They love, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was such a powerful headline, because we're always looking for different ways to share with our customers, ways of thinking about the market. And I just thought that was so neat how you said, hey, the clients I'm working with now that we're looking back then are finding houses they love. And before, they were sort of just settling on something they liked. And I just feel like that's that silver lining
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
the
That's
market.
definitely the silver lining in this current market. You can buy a house you love again.
Okay. So our theme being building a referral-based business and repeat referral-based business, and your stat pack, and we're always running into friends and family, and we're as realtors, and we're out at like barbecues, et cetera, and people are asking about the market. How do you keep it simple for them? Like, what's your approach? Because you have all this data, and I think sometimes there's that curse of knowledge too, right? How do you keep it simple for them and put the feelers out to understand if they're thinking about being in the market, if they're just curious?
Sure. Like what I say is that you need to have that 10 or 20-second elevator speech.
Okay.
So in my stat pack, I do these quick facts, and so those quick facts is what I use for my elevator speech every month, and hopefully the other agents in our office do.
Yeah.
So when you're out in the supermarket and you see somebody, you have your ERA logo shirt on, someone goes, "How's the market?" And you can say, "Hey, it's da 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 da." You can tell them how the market is. You know, rates are terrible right now, but we just had the best month of our career. You know, whatever it might be. I think giving people honest information, but also, at least in our market, the sky's not falling.
Right.
It's nowhere close to falling. It's still, our market is incredibly good. It's still one of the better markets that I believe we've had in my career. But that's, again, based on, because of where we're at, the number of people moving here. There's a lot of challenges, but I'm good with that. The challenges are why people need us, right?
Right. So have the headline, anticipate it, right? And have the stat, and then the but, right? The rates are high, but you had your best year ever, right?
Exactly. Yes.
And then that probably usually kind of stuns them, or they're like, what? What's going on? And it leads to that deeper conversation.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, like in our market right now, you know, because of rates, like everybody's, there's a lot of struggling realtors in our market, and the media is all over it. So anytime anybody asks me, "Oh, you must be really struggling right now," we're not really struggling. We're putting together or putting to use our ninja habits, and those ninja habits are get back to the basics. Get on the phone and make calls, go have coffee with clients, go have lunch with clients, and business is still solid, really solid.
And as we get close to wrapping up here, so you said something to me about when you're being that trusted advisor and you're in this for the long haul, right? So you're going to give all the best advice and information and let them decide if the market works or not. And sometimes you might be saying, hey, this might not be the time to buy, and they buy anyhow, and vice versa. But you shared something interesting around people that are renting and the money they spend on renting, and how you get them to think a little differently about that versus interest rates. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I thought that was really interesting.
Sure. So any good idea I have, I've stolen from someone else. Even from someone in our company, that's pretty amazing. But so there's two ways I address that. Is one is, you know, we had a client who was looking at renting for a 2-year lease at $3,500 a month. Well, when you do that math, that's, you know, about $80,000, $85,000 over 2 years. That's gone forever. They'll never see that money. That money goes to someone else. Whereas if they were to purchase a house, they're going to see some of that, you know, back in their pocket at some point.
Right.
But the other way to describe it was, when you rent, the actual mortgage rate is 100%, where right now the mortgage rate is about 7.5%. So when you rent, you're renting, your mortgage rate is actually 100%, meaning that money's gone forever again, and it all goes into someone else's pocket.
I feel like that was a mic drop moment right there. I think he dropped the mic. Let's give it up for Eddie Hurt.